Welcome, everyone. We will start in one moment. Hello, everyone. The power of the pivot. You have arrived. My name is Rebecca Chaplin, and I am the Associate State Director with AARP North Carolina. I know that we have people with us today from across the nation. And I see you are already doing what I was going to ask you to do, which is to introduce yourself and let us know where you're coming from if you feel comfortable doing that. It's so much fun to watch you arrive in the chat. Our state director often says, "Blessed are the flexible, they shall not be bent out of shape." Well, when we created an event entitled The Power of the Pivot, we did not know that the event's development process would be laden with pivots. We had changes in our event date, our speaker, our sponsors, our promotional avenues. Our planning team knew that this event would be important and the message was timely, but we just couldn't get it pinned down up until this one moment when everything clicked into the place. And that was the moment that I called today's speaker, Dr. Linda Jordon. I called her a few days before Christmas and told her all about the changes we've gone through. I asked her if she could speak at today's event on January 13th, and without pause, she said, "Not a problem. Yes, I can do that." As you will soon see, Dr. Jordon is not only an entrepreneur, a caregiver, a business coach, an elected official, she manages to be a kind and thoughtful person. In addition, Dr. Jordon, our planning team and sponsors made today's event possible. This includes AARP volunteers, ABIPA, the Asheville Buncombe Institute for Parity Achievement, and the Asheville chapter of the Links. In a moment, I'm going to pass the talking stick to Dr. Jordon. Before I do, I want to share what you can expect from today's event. You can expect to be inspired. You can expect to connect with your own life purpose and to have ideas about how you can hold yourself accountable to your life purpose. Dr. Jordon's presentation will be followed by some Q&A. We anticipate that the first round of Q&A will come from our planning team. If you have questions, type them into the Q&A function. That's at the bottom of your screen. If you have questions you want to, if you have a plethora of questions, we'll start there and then move to our planning team. If you have resources that you want to share, the chat's a great place to do that. Please use it. Throughout today's event, our team will populate the chat with resources and upcoming free events. This will include caregiver support events like our upcoming Powerful Tools for Family Caregivers, professional development events like Your Time to Shine in 2022. If you want to continue the conversation from today, you're in luck. 1 week from today, on January 19th at 11 a.m., AARP, Dr. Jordon, and our partners will host a more intimate discussion. We'll talk about themes from her book, A Voice of Hope. You will receive a link to register for that in the email following this event. We will also put a link in the chat for you now. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to pass the talking stick to my new friend and colleague, Dr. Linda Jordon.
Thank you, Rebecca. It is such a pleasure and honor to be here with you today. And thank you for all who are in the audience. Welcome. I am Dr. Linda Jordon, and today my purpose is to make sure that you understand what is your life purpose so that you can live your best life. So we will get started. Hopefully everyone is ready to go. We've already had our welcome, but today's topic, of course, I'll repeat it again, Power of the Pivot, navigating life transitions. Just a little bit about me, if you don't know something about me. I'm a wife, mother, and breast cancer survivor. I'm a business coach. I'm a diversity and inclusion facilitator. I am an executive director with the John Maxwell team. I do course facilitation with Cornell University, where I help women in business become entrepreneurs, and I facilitate diversity, equity, inclusion. I am an author, as you have heard. So yes, I have one book, well, actually two books now, working on two this year, and I am a real estate investor. So just a little bit about me. So to help me know a little bit who's in the audience, first, we're going to be using a different technology today so that you can have a little interaction. And so if you have a mobile device, and if you're comfortable in doing so, use your cell phone, your iPad, whatever it is that you choose to use, go to menti.com, and that's menti.com, and type in the code 23517776. So the question I'm just asking is, what city or state are you from, or are you from a different country? Put that into your mobile device. That just lets me know where people are from. I'm born and raised in Virginia, so I'd love to see some Virginia people. I think I saw someone from Richmond in the chat. So if you're willing to participate in that, please do so. Buffalo, New York. Awesome. Washington, D.C. My nephew lives in D.C. Anyone else? We have Asheville, North Carolina. I've been trying to get to Asheville all year and haven't made it so far. Let's see, another Asheville. Great. That's awesome. North Carolina, the great state, second after Virginia, because that's where I was born and raised. Minneapolis, awesome. Houston, Georgia, Moncure. I've never been there. Let's see. Great Neck, Weaverville, San Jose, California, Mills River, North Carolina. I haven't heard of that one. Raleigh, that's close to me. Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for participating in that. That just lets me know that, number one, you know how to operate the tool, and I know who's in the room, so we can have a little bit of fun. Great, great. They're still coming in. Charlotte, Oak Hill, Illinois. Faster than I can read. This is fantastic. Such a great audience. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing where you're from. Let's see, there's Queens, New York. Oh my, they're still coming in. Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for that. So now you know how to use the tool and you can participate. What I want to know now is, with that same menti.com and using code 23517776, who's in the room? I'd like to know, who am I talking to today? Who is in the room listening? What's your job title, or what do you do? Choose however you want to list that, but I'd like to know who's in the room. Retired, yes, for the retired people. Professor, caregiver, awesome. Caregivers do a fantastic job. Independent consultants. We have healthcare IT consultant, retired marketing executive, retired music teacher. Thank you for your service. Recruiter. Oh my goodness, so many people. Lots and lots of individuals. A writer, fantastic. QC manager in a chemical, nonprofit leader, student pastor, caregiver wife, fantastic. And they're still coming in. Now I know who's in the room. Who am I talking to? And that's very helpful, because I like to make sure that I tailor my message to who's in the room so that I can touch each person, so that each person gets something out of the message. They're still coming in. Great. Spec projector coordinator, VP of human resources. Wow, awesome. Psychologist retired. Thank you so much for your participation and engagement. This is fantastic. And hopefully everyone is enjoying using the tool. Something different. I like to make sure I keep my audience interactive as I am talking. So one last time to play with your tool, because I know sometimes when we're listening to meetings and trainings, yes, we need to check our email. So that's one of the reasons I like people to use their mobile devices. But let me know, what would you like to learn from today's session? What is it that you are looking for today? So go to that same menti.com and use the code 23517776. What would you like to learn from today's session? Because at the end, I want to make sure that I'm giving you exactly what you need. So if I need to tailor it along the way, I will do that. I want to make sure that you get what you came for. So purpose, absolutely. How to find my purpose, how to discover my purpose. Purpose is for sure that. Adjusting to part-time retirement, big life change, pivoting, planning and strategies, retired, moving, looking for next chapter, tools to pivot smoothly. I want to find myself outside of caregiving for my husband. What to pivot? Wow, lots of great stuff. Lots of great stuff. Find a positive fit post-retirement, coping skills, my life purpose. Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you so much for participating. This is great. That gives me an idea of what you would like to learn by the end of the day. And if it's something that I don't cover, just stay tuned. I'll have an opportunity for you to get more out of what I talked about today and what I didn't talk about that you want to know more about. So that is fantastic. Thank you so much for your participation. So yes, we're going to talk about pivoting. People pivot for different reasons, and pivoting is a good thing. Now, on the screen, it says people pivot for better health, wealth, relationships, new opportunities. But people also pivot, particularly in these times, because of COVID has changed our lives like incredibly. We're going on 2 years. The economy is another reason that people change or they have to pivot. Their job. We all know that in November of last year, 4.4 million people fired themselves, for lack of better words. They decided to pivot. They decided to walk away and do something different because they wanted to live their best life. Maybe they found their purpose. Maybe they're still looking for it. Not sure. But people pivot because it's a good thing. It leads to new opportunities. It leads to better health, better wealth, better relationships. Now, many people don't pivot and they end up missing out on opportunities. They decided that they want to remain in that same situation. They're afraid of change. So why don't people pivot? Other than they're afraid of change, well, it's fear. It's that lack of confidence that prevents us from making a change, making a shift. It is that lack of time. It is lack of money. Or they may think that they're not good enough. So the question I'll ask you, are you living your best life? You can say yes, you can say no, or you're not sure. Are you living your best life? Have you had a time to pivot where you're not sure about pivoting? Because, we make up all these excuses as to why we can't pivot. Now, these excuses to you, these are your reasons of why you choose not to pivot. But these reasons, even though they're your reasons, they really are excuses. They really are excuses. Awesome. There are a lot of people that are not sure. And that's okay, because we all are at a point in our lives where we want to live our best life. As we've seen for who's in the audience, you're retired. You're trying to figure out, okay, you're no longer a caregiver. What do you do now? Maybe you have a job transition. Maybe you're already working in corporate and you want to get to that next level. So are you living your best life? Do you have the tools, the resources, the information to help you live your best life? So I'm here to tell you that excuses can prevent you from living your best life. So now that we know that some people are unsure if you're living your best life, some are sure, some are saying no. What type of life transition are you currently experiencing that is maybe holding you back from living your best life? So go to menti.com and use the code 23517776. What type of life transition are you currently experiencing? COVID. Yes, it's there. Widowhood. My sincere apologies. Divorced, aging, retiring, health challenges, MSW graduation, move to a new state, isolation from COVID. Oh my goodness, isolation has just been, it's heartbreaking because when we talk about the kids in school, they're isolated. But we as individuals, as adults, we are also isolated from our friends and family because of this horrific disease, COVID. Again, we have career changes, coping with retirement in COVID world, working part-time as the transition to retirement, leaving a 45-year home for a new city and state. Oh my, that can be challenging. That's a life change, a life transition. Thank you so much for sharing. Those are all major life transitions, new purpose, a new desire, caring for severely mental ill son, all life transitions that sometimes we struggle with. We struggle because we're trying to figure out, How do we do all of this? Taking care of people, but also taking care of ourselves, which is the most important. Now, this screen just has a couple of different other life transitions, but it's all of what you mentioned. Progress is a life transition. Movement, as we talked about, advancing in businesses, motivation, your mood, development, lifestyle, changes in technology. All of these are life transitions or changes that impact us mentally and physically. But as I mentioned earlier, we all have reasons as to why we do or don't do things, but I call them really excuses. Now, there are three common excuses that we tell ourselves, or reasons that we tell ourselves why we can't do something or why we can't get something done. The first is, I don't have enough money. How many of you have said, well, I would love to do this. I would love to invest in myself, but I don't have enough money to do it. I would love to, or I want to do this, but I don't have enough money. Or the number two one is, I don't have enough time. Now, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, but somehow those 24 hours are consumed. If you're a caregiver, you really don't have enough time, because having been a caregiver, your time is completely devoted to taking care of that loved one, that individual. But for those who are not, we still have that same 24 hours. What are we doing with our time? Are we taking the time to calendarize our daily activities? Are we writing things down that we need to do? Do we have a plan of action? Because if you don't have a plan of action, then that 24 hours will get away from you so fast. If you're not budgeting your funds, that money will get away from you so fast. So you won't have enough money, nor will you have enough time. And then the third reason or excuse we tell ourselves is that I don't know how, or I don't have enough information, or I'm not smart enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not skinny enough. We have all these different reasons or excuses that we tell ourselves that we can't get something done. We've convinced ourselves. And that's really because we haven't figured out what is our purpose in life. What's your why? What gets you up in the morning? What gets you excited? And if you're not excited about anything, you ought to be excited about today, because today I want you to be excited. I want you to take some time in this moment today to start figuring out, what is your life purpose? Now, for me, I really didn't know what my life purpose was for a long time. I worked in corporate America for almost 30 years. And for those who have retired, you know what I'm talking about. But having to work for a company for 30 years, when I tell my daughter's friends, they're like, 30 years? Who would have ever done such a thing? But, being a baby boomer, that's how I grew up. But on December the 4th, 2014, I had no more excuses. I received my diagnosis for breast cancer. And at that moment, I knew that I couldn't keep telling myself a lie that I can't do something. I can't try something new. At that moment, I knew that I had to make a change. I had to step up to the plate because I had no other option. Also, at that same time, my organization, my company was going through changes, and I saw breast cancer as a lifeline. It was a blessing to me. And some of you may say, how in the world is cancer a blessing? Well, it was a blessing to me because I knew at that moment that God was trying to tell me, and I apologize for those who may not be religious, but I am a religious person, so I'll apologize in the beginning. But to me, that was a calling from God to say that, Linda, you need to do something different in your life. You have a bigger purpose. You have a bigger purpose for yourself. And for me at that moment, I stopped making excuses. I called up my vice president and I said, I'm diagnosed with breast cancer. I'm taking some time off. And she said, how much? And I said, forever. I'm walking away and I'm going to allow my staff to run the business, to run my department. Because I knew I had a bigger purpose in life. And my purpose in life was to make sure that I spent more time with my family, more time with my daughter. And I knew that my purpose also was to leave a family legacy for my daughter. She is an only child. But I wanted to leave a legacy so that people would know, she would know what her mom was really all about. And that purpose was to help other people. So what I'm doing today is part of my life purpose, to share my knowledge, my experience with those who are listening, in hopes that whatever I share will touch at least one person and allow you to take some time to figure out what is your life purpose. Stop making those excuses, because success is only a moment away. Your excuses, your reasons for wherever you're not doing something, is preventing you from living your best life. So for a moment, think about it. What fears do you have right now about your life transition? What is it that scares you out of your pants? What is it? What fear do you have right now about that life transition? You see, my fear was, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But I knew that I had a higher power that was helping me along the way. Yes, health was one of the fears I had. Am I going to survive breast cancer? It's the fear of the unknown. I walk away, what's going to happen? How am I going to pay the bills? Yes, running out of money. Fear of failure. Am I wasting this last chapter? Loneliness after your husband has gone on. Uncertainty. What if I don't like that new change? Being vulnerable. Oh my goodness. Not sure what to do next. We are all there. We have all been there. I have been there. I really wasn't sure what to do next. I just knew I had to do something. And that something for me was to walk away from corporate America and to start a new life, start my best life. Yes, running out of time. At the time I was 51 and I'm like, I'm not really running out of time. I really thought about it. This is my time. At 51, that was my best time. Making mistakes, yes, we are all fearful. Someone's going to judge me. Don't want to make a mistake. Loss of health. When you have individuals, family members with special needs, we all have those fears, those what if moments that holds us back from taking that one step. My mom always said, if you make one step, the Lord will make two. And again, I apologize for those who are not religious, but that's the person that I am, and that's who you're hearing today. So thank you so much for sharing those fears that you have about life transitions, because we all have those fears. But let me tell you three of the common fears that everyone has. And some of you have mentioned it earlier. That fear of rejection. No one wants to be rejected. We all want to be accepted by someone. But that fear of rejection is because we're comparing ourselves to someone else. Well, the Sally down the road, she's a great book writer. She's an author. She has sold, X amount of books. She's on the bestseller. I can't be as good as Sally. Or so-and-so has retired and they started their own business and they're making tons of money. They're doing great. There's no way I could be that great. Or you see someone on social media who has all these followers and they're saying they're making all this money off of TikTok, which is the new thing. And you're thinking, I can't do that. But you can. That fear of rejection is holding you back from looking at what's inside of you. There's something special about you. You just need to take the time to figure out, what is that one thing that's special about you? That one thing that makes you unique that no one else has. We all have it. But what is that one thing that you have that makes you special? Own that. And then let go of that fear of rejection. Because no one is better than you at your special thing, whatever that special thing that you have. No one has that but you. No one can take that away from you. Only you, if you allow fear to prevent you from living your best life. And then we have the second fear, that fear of failure. Oh my goodness. Everybody wants to be successful. No one wants to fail. But with failure comes new opportunities. Failure brings new challenges. Failure allows you to look deeper at why you failed, so that you can reevaluate, take a reassessment of what you did, refine it, and then do better. Don't allow failure to hold you back. Don't allow it. Don't accept it. And then the third one is that I am not good enough. Now, I am a middle child, and I have told myself for years that I wasn't good enough. Now, you're probably saying, how can Dr. Jordon say that? But I did as a young child, even as an adult. I wasn't the tallest in my family. I definitely wasn't the skinniest. And sometimes I allowed that to hold me back because I wasn't the youngest and I wasn't the oldest. So I'm right there in the middle. There's 8 of us, 4 girls and 4 boys, and I'm smack dab in the middle. So I always had to fight for whatever I wanted as a child, fighting for attention because the youngest got the most attention or the oldest. And so that was one of the fears that I had from a child that carried on into my adult life until December 4th, 2014. When that diagnosis of cancer hit me, I knew I had to let go of those fears. I was good enough. I was not going to fail. And I didn't care if people rejected me or not. I was going to do me. And that's what I want you to do. Do you. Don't worry about what your friends and family may say or your neighbors. They're not living your life. They don't know your life's purpose. Only you know that. So if you allow them to take that away from you, that's taking energy away from you. That's taking time away from you. That's taking money away from you because you're consumed in what other people think. But take that time and energy and really think about your life purpose. What is it that you need to do? What is your calling? You may not know it right now, but over time you will know what is your life purpose. So if you had no fear, what's the number one thing you would do today? Just put it in the menti.com. If you had no fear, what's that number one thing you would do? If you want to participate, please do. If not, I totally understand. But if you had no fear, what's the one thing that you would do? Private practice counseling, travel the world, move to Portugal, travel, quit working. I love it. Hit the road and write, finish building my house, teach in schools, quit my job, be a motivational speaker. Love it, love it, love it. And you all can do that. Squash that fear. Don't let that hold you back. Don't let that prevent you from living your best life because you can travel. You can move to Portugal. You can teach in schools. You can podcast. Yes, you can quit your job. We all just know we have to put some plans in place to do that. Prepare ourselves. Definitely be a motivational speaker. Finish building that house. We can do all of those things. Thank you so much for sharing. We can do those things if we change our mindset. Now, I've got mindset in 3 zones. Number 1 is that comfort zone. We're all there. We're so comfortable being uncomfortable that we're just going to stay there and whine and moan and figure, okay, this is just the way life is. I'm just going to stay this way. I want you to get out of that comfort zone today. I want you to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Because when you're in that zone, change happens. You start to make change. You look at the world very differently. Instead of thinking that I can't do that. I can't move to Portugal. Yes, you can. If you have a plan in place. And then once you become comfortable being uncomfortable, then you start to learn more because then you're moving in that learning zone. You start to invest in yourself, whether it's knowledge, it's time, it's looking at other opportunities that are there for you. And then as you learn, then you start to grow and develop. You start to connect with other individuals. Maybe you're looking for that new job, whatever that is, or you want to start a business. Connect with those like-minded individuals that will help you get there because we all know we cannot do everything by ourselves. If you're a caregiver, you can't do it by yourself. As a caregiver taking care of my daughter, I thought as the mother, yes, I could do this. I got this. I could do it by myself. No, I could not. I needed other people. So don't let pride prevent you from asking for help. Don't let pride prevent you from asking for help. Get in that growth zone. All about the mindset. It may be hard, but let go of that. because you want to live your best life. You want to live your life's purpose. So it's your choice how you want to spend the rest of your life. And once you choose how you want to do that, I want you to be intentional. What do I mean by that? I want you to make sure that you have a plan in place to do so. Stop making excuses. There's no more excuses after today. No reason why you can't get things done. My mentor, John Maxwell, says, you cannot achieve a dream that you cannot or you do not own. Own your dream, own your life's purpose. So what actions will you take after today? What actions will you take? Well, I have 3 simple things that you can do. I call it bet. Bet on yourself. B is for bet. Bet on yourself, because if you don't, no one else will. E is for energy. Be excited about change. Be excited about that new initiative. Be excited that you're going to start your own business, move to Portugal, build that house or finish that house that you started working on, write that book, finish that chapter, whatever it is, be excited about that. Because if you're not, no one else is. And then take action and hold yourself accountable. You are the owner of your destiny. Only you can prevent yourself from living your best life. Only you can prevent fears from stepping into your world. Now, I say there's 3 steps to what I call the GPA to success, and that's goals, plans, and actions. It's all about the mindset. We get our minds together, then we are good to go. We can make things happen. Magic happens when we change our mindset. Stay away from that negative Nancy, because that person will always hold you back. They will always, well, you can't do that because X is going to happen. Stay away from those type of people. Be around individuals who are like-minded, who will help and support you along the way. Have a strategy in place, have a plan in place so that you can do whatever it is that you need to do, and then take action. Because a plan with no action is just a hope, it's just a dream. But you can make this happen. So if you have a piece of paper, I want you to take out just a plain sheet of paper, don't care what size, it's just for you, just a notepad, whatever it is. And I want you to take this piece of paper and I want you to draw a line straight through the middle. I'll hold it up so some of you can see. Just take a piece of paper, draw a line straight through the middle. And then on the left side, I want you to write the words now. Where are you now? And then on the right side, I want you to write where I want to be. And in that middle line, I want you to write the words gap, G-A-P. Gap is me. So if you need me to repeat that, take a piece of paper, draw a line straight down the middle. On the left, put where I am now, or just the word now. On the right, put where I want to be. And then the middle where that line is, put the words GAP. The gap is me. My question to you is, how do you fill that gap? How do you fill that gap? You want to close that gap by changing your mindset, creating a plan in place so that you can get to whatever it is that you want to get done. And take action. What is your action plan? What are the dates that you want to get things done? What are you going to do every week, every hour, every quarter? So that by the end of 2022, you have made some progress from where you are now to where you want to be. Again, the gap is you. You are in total control of your destiny. You are responsible for the success in your life. You just need to understand, what is your purpose? What is your why? And once you know what that is, magic happens. Life changes.
So, Dr. Jordon, if you could stop the share screen, please. We'll have our first friend here join you. We're going to bring Dana into the center stage here to ask a question that might be on the minds of others. So I'm going to add a spotlight to Dana. Go ahead, Dana. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Talk about getting excited. I think you have accomplished that today with significant inspiration. I'm glad this was recorded so we can all keep listening to it when we need to.
Awesome.
Dr. Jordan, what are some of the most important life lessons, including things you learned about yourself through caregiving?
It's a great question, Dana. One of the things I learned about myself through caregiving was I was stronger than I thought I was. I was much stronger than I thought I was. I had more courage than I thought I was. I had more confidence than I thought I had. Now, we all know we have confidence, but as a caregiver, I'm not a healthcare professional. And so I struggled with, and I've always struggled with authority, someone who has a higher level about challenging them. And that's one of the main things I learned in caregiving is that I had to challenge physicians. I had to challenge nurses. I had to challenge the home healthcare nurses. Why? I had to do that because my daughter couldn't speak for herself at the time. And I had to dig deep because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to offend someone. But I thought if I don't speak up for her, if I don't speak up for what I think is the right thing to do or question what they're doing, then it could be detrimental to her. So that was one of the main things that I learned is that we have to step out of our comfort zone. We have to use the right words, the right tone of voice in order to get our point across. Sometimes we get caught up in the emotional part of it and we can't communicate what we want to say the right way. So that was one of the things I learned, that I could really talk to those physicians and say what was on my heart and touch their heart. And doing that was a beautiful thing. I still have a relationship with my daughter's surgeon. We talk on the phone, we go through email, we have respect for each other. But he was so glad that I challenged him on something, and it made a better situation for her health. So I say to those, whether it's a health situation, it's a life situation, it's a job, it's a family crisis that's going on, have the confidence that you can ask those questions appropriately. Use the right tone of voice. Meet people where they are. Now, nobody wants to be yelled at or screamed at because you don't want that either. But use the right tone of voice and ask those appropriate questions to get others to start to think about what those concerns that you have. And then that changes your whole perspective in life and in business. Does that answer your question?
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Dr. Jordon. And so I know I have a question that goes along kind of what you're saying about being a person of faith. One of the things that I've heard many times is to know and not do is sin. I'm sure that everyone on this call knows that they need to be taking care of themselves and putting themselves at a priority. What are some tools or methods that you suggest to us to ensure that we're putting the oxygen mask on ourselves first?
Yes, absolutely. As a caregiver, it's hard because we are so worried about taking care of everybody else that we forget about ourselves. And for me as a caregiver, I had to quickly learn that, after sitting at the hospital for 3 months and watching over everything the doctor's doing, and once my daughter came home, I quickly learned that if I didn't get up and do something like working out, I can't button no pants. So I started a regiment. I put it on my calendar. I'm going to work out on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Now, I'm not going to try to do a whole hour because I don't have that much time. But if I take 10 minutes while she's sleeping and I just stand in front of the TV and just walk, that'll work. So taking time for yourself to get some exercise in. Number 2 is if you love to read, take the time to pull out your favorite book, read, get a notebook, journal. There's all different things that you can do so that you can feel good about yourself. You can take care of yourself. Now, I didn't have the time to go out and get a manicure or pedicure or anything like that, which I would have loved to do, but you can take the time once the person that you're taking care of is feeling better, and you do it together at home. My daughter and I would paint our own nails, and that was fun. But you've got to figure out what's going to work for you. But you have to take care of yourself, because if you don't, then you start to get those negative feelings of, oh my gosh, I'm doing all of this for someone else. No one's doing anything for me. But you have to be strong to say, I'm going to take 20 minutes every day and do something for me. Get someone in the family or a friend or a neighbor to step in to allow you to, maybe if you want to walk outside for 15 minutes, something of that nature. Maybe watch your favorite TV show to get 15 minutes of laughter in. Whatever it is that's going to make you, put you back into center so that you can go back and take care of that individual. So hopefully that answered your question.
It was. Thank you. Very insightful and fresh.
Thank you.
Dr. Jordan, hi, how are you? Thank you
Great.
for that. That was wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you.
I manage healthcare professionals throughout the Southeast area. And as a manager, how can we put systems in place to help people take care of themselves?
Well, great question. Thank you for asking that, Diamond. When I was in corporate America, one of the things that I did as a leader was, number one, I always took the time to have a walk and talk with my staff, one by one, not the whole group. I go get one person, and we're going to take 5 minutes and walk around the building, because I want to know, how are they feeling? Because I can't put plans in place for my staff unless I know what's going on with them. And I ask them in a quiet moment. So scheduling walk and talks to connect with that person to find out what's going on with them. Secondly is to model the behavior. So if I want my team to have health in their mindset and their physical body, then I need to start working out. So yes, I started working out with my team. Between the hours of 11 and 1, whoever's going to lunch, make sure that you exercise, whether it's in the gym, or we also had, I would schedule massages for people to come in every quarter based upon, how the department's doing. We'll have massages come in, and I'll have someone schedule 30 minutes for each employee. So there's different things that you can do to boost your employees' morale, to make sure that they're healthy from the mind and body. But you want to make sure that you as the leader are modeling that behavior, because you can put plans in place. Maybe no one shows up. If you build it, will they come? Maybe not. So as the leader, we need to be interacting, doing those things that we ask our staff to do. And if we're modeling that behavior, then they will definitely go in and do it as well. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Dr. Jordan. Sherry here.
Hi,
Thank
Sherry.
you so much. That was so awesome.
My pleasure.
So I'm interested. I am an AARP volunteer, and I have taught entrepreneur classes for people over 50 who are thinking about this chapter of their life and possibly starting a business. And you have gone from corporate America to entrepreneurism and starting your business. And so if I look at your sheet of paper, right, with on the left side, you're in where you are, you're in corporate and you're thinking about starting your own business and you have that gap. Can you share with people some of those early steps you took to go from corporate America into entrepreneurism?
Absolutely. Great question. So the first step that I went into was scarcity, because I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? So I had to get over that fear and the thought of, hey, you're the boss, you're the CEO, you're the accountant, the bookkeeper, the administrative assistant, you're everything. So one of the things I needed to do, and one of the things that I did, was I had a business plan. I took the time to create a business plan, a 5-year plan of what it is that I wanted to do, the achievements that I wanted to make, and how I wanted to give back to my community. So that's the first thing, is you need a business plan. And then the second thing is you need a business. So I had to create a business, setting up my tax ID number with the federal government, creating the articles of organization through the state of North Carolina. So I had to set up all those plans and the business itself so that I could start something. And then once that's done, then I created what I call, and some people call, is a vision board. Because for that year for me, I've got my business going. I know what my business plan is for the next 5-10 years, but what is my plan for right now? So I had my vision board, so I knew what goals I wanted to achieve, what time period. So I did first quarter, third quarter of what I wanted to achieve. But then I needed to create, how was I going to do it? What are those tactical things that I need to do? Those steps I need to take? Who do I need to connect with? Increase my networking group, because I had a small group, coming from corporate. So I had to learn about new networks, new people, and getting over that fear of introducing myself to new partners that could help me flourish. So those are some of the initial things that you need to do when you're walking away, you want to start your own business, because starting a business is not easy. I won't tell people that it is, but you also need to invest in yourself. And that's the last component. And that's to make sure that you are learning and educating yourself on whatever tools or education content that you need so that you can be that specialist for whatever it is that you want to do. So for me, I had to invest in additional education, because we may think we know it all, but we don't until our customer asks us a question. Like, oh gosh, I got to check that out. Of course, what we do, we got to Google it. So pre-plan and make sure you have all your strategy in place of what you want to do so that you can close that gap and be successful at the end of the day. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you so, so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Dr. Jordon, now we have some general questions from our audience.
Sure.
The first one is from Diana. She says, what do you have for breakfast? Your enthusiasm is contagious.
People ask me that all the time. What I have for breakfast is actually nothing. What gets me going every single day is when I am laying in bed and I turn and my feet hit the floor, I am energized. Why? Because I'm able to get myself out of bed. Number two, I'm able to see the sunlight. And number three, I'm able to get from the bed to brush my teeth, wash my face, and then start my day. That's what gets me going every single day, because I think about it. There are so many people who can't even do that. Some many people can't even actually turn over. Some people don't have the visibility to see that gorgeous sunlight that the Lord has given us. So that's what gets me going every single day. So every moment of that 24 hours, I try to embrace it, because I try to live each day as if it is my last.
Great. And so the next question comes from Eileen. How do you find your purpose and passion?
Eileen, great question. It's a long answer. I actually have a workshop on that. But finding your purpose is, you have to go 7 levels deep. And that's what I tell you. You really have to go 7 levels deep. You start off with, let's say for an example, your purpose, you believe it is maybe to save the world. Then you ask yourself, why is that important? Once you answer that question, ask yourself again, why is that important? You do that 7 times. And on the 7th time, you will truly know why that is important. And once you know that, then you know what your life's purpose is. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, and so now we have another one. This one is submitted anonymously, but we have a viewer that has been in a bad marriage for 35 years, and she's trying to get out. So she would like to know some of the tools that she can utilize to make that really powerful pivot.
That's a tough question. And I would love to talk to her offline if possible. One of the things I would say for her or him is to take some time to do some soul searching. And that's going a little bit deeper than the why, because, I don't know if that person has children or not. I know they've been married for a really long time, but they need to do some soul searching to figure out what's working well in the marriage and what's not working well. And again, that's looking at that gap to determine why you may be ready to call it quits, why you may be willing to walk away. And if you're comfortable with that answer at the end, then you have to make that personal choice of, you're making a sacrifice. And if you're willing to live with those sacrifices, then you decide what step you want to take. But either way, there are sacrifices, whether it's a relationship or it's a job, or if it's something else that's going on in your life. There are pros and cons to everything that we need to do. We have to be comfortable and okay with whatever that end result is, because that's going to impact you the rest of your life. But as long as you're okay with the decision, then you're good. I'll give you a quick example. I said I'm a breast cancer survivor. Now, my doctors wanted me to do a biopsy, which I did. Then they just wanted me to do a lumpectomy. And they said, you'll be good. And I said to the doctor, if you were me, what would you do? And they said, I probably wouldn't have any boobs. I said, well, I'm going to do what you do. See, I don't want to have to go back to that doctor to say, oh my gosh, there's something else. I didn't want to have to deal with that fear. So if you're in a situation, whether it's marriage or you're struggling with divorce or trying to figure out, do I quit my job? Do I start a business? You got to figure out what's going to be best for you, because you don't want any regrets. My motto this year is no excuses, no regrets. And if you can live with those consequences, then you've made the right decision.
Thank you. That was really great. And I think that my dog wants to ask a question too. Someone has asked this very quickly. So this last question says, how can we find the one special thing about us?
The one special thing, how do you find it? Is finding what your purpose in life is. We know it. We don't take the time to own it because we're so busy doing so many things for all people. But there is that one special thing that we all have. God has given us all a gift. Now, there's so many, I call them squirrels, that are around us that are busy. And then we start here, we start there, and we're like, oh, I'm good at that. Well, yes, you're probably good at that, but maybe that's not your purpose. I've worked in corporate America, as I said, for almost 30 years. And I thought that was my purpose, was being a leader, having a team, working for somebody else. I thought that was my purpose. I thought I was something. But cancer stopped me and said, that is not your purpose. And so it's been 6 years, actually now 7. February the 12th will be the day of my surgery, will be 7 years. And I knew what my purpose was, but it takes a long time. You're not going to find it tomorrow. You're not going to find it today. But you may find it maybe June, July, maybe by the end of the year. But it takes time for you as the individual to do some deep soul searching and look at your surroundings, look at your behaviors, look at what you enjoy doing. What is it that makes you smile every single day that you hear about something? For me, it was the day my daughter was born. I knew my life purpose was to make her life better. I wanted to make sure that she didn't have to suffer as much as I did being raised on a farm in Virginia where my parents were farmers. I didn't want my daughter to have to go through that. So I knew I had to have a purpose in life to change the path of her financial freedom, of making sure she had financial literacy. And that was one of the things I lacked as an adult. So I knew my life's purpose was to build a life for her. And then once I've gotten her life built the way it wants to be done, then I needed to give back to my community, because we all have to give back. Because once we learn whatever is our life purpose is, we have to give back to our community. And that's what I try to do every single day, is to show the world how they can be better leaders, how we can be better people. But it takes some time to figure out what your life purpose is. But I'd be more than happy to talk more about that with that individual, because it's not an overnight sensation like the song. It takes some time, and it just takes some soul searching, and you're going to fight with yourself saying, no, this is my life purpose. But no, that isn't. You may want that to be your purpose, but it really isn't. But it just takes time to get there.
Yeah. And you know, in the core of you, who you are, right?
Absolutely.
And so we just like to say, thank you so much. Like one of the people in the chat said, thank you for sharing your wisdom, your enthusiasm, because if nothing else, I think that we're all motivated to pivot in whatever way that is for us personally. And we know that it's all at a different pace. So thank you again for your wisdom.
My pleasure.
I'm back. The floating head has returned. We did have another question pop in. How do you explain this purpose search to others, like older parents or even children who don't understand why you're not working, for example, or why you've chosen an unconventional path?
That's a great question. And it can be challenging. So for my parents are deceased, but my daughter, I will use an example. And I have, as I said, 7 brothers and sisters, and they are not entrepreneurial thinkers. So one of the things that in those conversations that I have with them is, I just asked some really simple questions around life in general. And for children that are having to deal with their parents home and they want to go see their friends, we just have, so for an example, I have a niece who's 17 and she's struggling herself. We have really hard conversations about what's going on with them, because that's really what it's about. It's not so much about why the mom is home or why the spouse is not going to work. It's what's really going on with that person. And when I had those conversations with my niece, it was around, she was missing her friends. She was missing the interaction with school, playing sports. You know, kids love social media, don't get me wrong, but they have to have that human interaction. So for them, they feel like something is really wrong. Maybe the world's coming to an end. They don't really understand it. But we as adults need to take the time to really figure out what's going on with them as a child, as a teenager, or maybe you have an elder parent. What's going on with them? Because they're struggling with this change that we have very quickly adapted to, not by choice, because we had to. So you need to have those initial conversations with what's going on with them, and then you merge in what's happening in the world. And it's going to be a tough conversation. Sometimes it's tough for me and my husband to have that conversation. I also have to remind him, where's your mask? Because we become comfortable in our own situations. So I would just suggest starting with a conversation with your child, teenager, or your parent about what's happening with them, and making sure you truly understand those impacts, because children are so vulnerable. And right now they're yearning for attention, and we don't want them to have any psychological impacts as a result of this. So we need to figure out, how do we keep them energized? How do we keep them motivated? How do we keep them energized with their friends in a safe space so that we can continue in this world dealing with COVID and Omicron and whatever else may come about. So I'm not sure if that answers the question or not, but
I love it. Really, turn it back around, and it's really about generally what's going on for the other person when they have
yeah,
those concerns. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you today, Dr. Jordan.
my pleasure.
I'm gonna close us off here, and I hope that if you feel excited and energized about today's event, that you'll consider joining us next week for our book discussion. You can choose to purchase the book at the seller of your choice, and you can join the book discussion even if you don't already have the book, because we'll be talking about some universal themes that will be relevant to all of us, and it'll be especially related to those on the caregiving journey. I think it was, there's a famous quote that we're all either caregivers, are caregivers, will be caregivers, or are care recipients. Rosalind Carter, that's who that came from. And, it's a path that we can all relate to. So if you want to prepare for your journey, please do consider joining us next week. And we'll also be putting some events into the chat that will help you on the caregiver's journey. I want to thank our partners today, Joanna Greer-McGeechan from ABIPA, Diamond White with the Links AAR or Asheville chapter, Sherry Lucas and Dan Azar for helping us out with today's discussion. Please do submit your evaluations. We need to know how we did so we can continue to create events that you enjoy. And finally, AARP's mission is to empower people to choose how they live as they age. And I hope that you saw that today's event is part of that path, supporting you on your own journey. We're not prescriptive. We don't know what your journey is designed to do. Only you know that. So with that, we will say goodbye for now, and we hope to see you next week. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.